The first reason why you need to work out is because it reminds you of what you can actually control. The fact is that as you get older and you have more responsibilities, you add in marriage and family, it shows you how many things you can't control, that are not under your control. Everything from the economy to whether your kid gets sick or not, and as Asians, there's the added layer of cultural expectations. Whether you subscribe to them or not, you know it's there. About where you should go to school, what job you should get, where you should live, what you should drive. None of these things are under your control. And if you let the voices, if you let the weight of all of these things get to you, it will crush you psychologically and spiritually. Which is why you have to constantly remind yourself of what you can control. And the most basic and fundamental thing you can control is your body. Your body is a gift from God, a vessel that can be molded and transformed in direct response to how you live your life. And as you push your body and put it under discipline, you'll realize that there are things that you can control in other areas of your life, like how you react to things, what you say, and how you act. Working out and the transformation you go through is a metaphor for life in general. Now, you might be thinking that the first piece of advice that I would tell people who don't work out is to go to the gym, get a gym membership. That's not necessarily the case. See, I've always considered working out as my sanctuary, not necessarily the gym itself, not the physical place where I work out, but the mental state that I occupy when I'm working out. As men, it's crucial that you create a mental area where you can think, ponder, problem solve, process, that is separate from the mental state that you're in for the rest of the day. A place where you can block out the voices, the messages, the things that you can't control. Yes, a dedicated physical space like a gym does help, but you can't always guarantee that you'll have access to that. Anybody who went to a gym during COVID understands this. It's yet another thing that you can't control. And it was during that time that I reminded myself that when I first started working out, I didn't have access to a gym. I worked out at home in my childhood room. I remember wanting to change my physique because I was so tired of being the scrawny nerd, but I didn't have any equipment. So I would just make up circuits from what I would read about in bodybuilding magazines. I would do push-ups, then do dips by lifting myself up onto my dresser. I would do pull-ups by lying on my bed, grabbing my headboard, and pulling myself up using the friction of my body on my mattress as resistance. Sometimes I would just run in place for over an hour to get cardio. So if you've never worked out but want to start working out at home. You don't need a gym to do a workout. You don't need an internet connection to work out. You don't need AC. You don't need music. You just need your body and discipline. Motivation, inspiration, that's for amateurs. Discipline is what is most important. It's what keeps you going for years and years. And when you understand that, you'll feel that sense of control. And let's face it, if you don't have the discipline to work out in your own room, then a gym membership is just a waste of money. I saw a study that said that 67% of all gym memberships are rarely, if ever, used. It's not the gym, it's you. So if you don't work out but want to start, I'll share with you a goal at the end of the video. And when you meet that goal, that's when you should start going to the gym. It will prepare you mentally and physically for the gym so that you'll actually use it and use it well. The second reason why Asian men must work out is because we're trained to constantly be aware of others, to compare ourselves to others. I don't know about you guys, but growing up, my parents were always comparing me to my peers in an effort to motivate me, and I hated it. But when you're around it for so long, when you've grown up with it, You start to determine your own self-worth by comparing yourself to others. What working out consistently teaches you is that the only person you can properly compare yourself to is yourself. Who you were before and who you are now. Every person is on their own journey. You don't know anything about them. So to compare your own life, your own journey, to someone else's is nonsensical. There's no comparison to be made. You only think you can make a proper comparison because you reduce them to what you see or what you assume about them. At least, that's what you should learn from working out. There are obviously people out there who work out so that they can be bigger, faster, stronger than others in the gym, and to compare themselves to others outside the gym. Okay, fine, but I've been working out for over 20 years now, and the most important truth you learn is that there is always someone bigger, faster, stronger than you. Working out should be a humbling experience. It should regulate your ego, not inflate it. Don't get me wrong, feel proud of the gains that you've made, but to feel pride over the fact that you think you're better than someone else is just being shallow. And you're missing out on one of the best lessons that working out can teach you. And to be honest, most people who work out consistently know this. That's why you'll always be able to find someone at the gym who's willing to share their journey with you, teach you, if you don't know what you're doing. There can be such great camaraderie in the gym because of this. The most interesting and diverse group of men I've ever met has been at the gym. It's the great equalizer. In college, one of my lifting partners was a Russian professor because we had a shared interest. On a semi-related point, if you're in a tight-knit Asian community, be prepared to get some reactions once you start working out. Look, I don't want to keep dogging on my culture, but the fact is that because we're so aware of others, it's easy to pigeonhole people and categorize them. Oh, he's the shy one. She's the talkative one. He's the one that's always up to no good, whatever. But for the skinny one or the overweight one to suddenly change their body, that'll get a reaction. I remember for me, during my junior year of high school, I went from 112 pounds to about 130 in less than a year once I started working out consistently and eating well. And of course, you start getting reactions from those around you. Mostly positive, sure, but the ones that always stuck out to me were the negative ones. I remember a couple times where people would make disparaging remarks calling me a meathead or saying that I was on steroids, which is funny to me now, but it was confusing back then. Less than a year ago, you were teasing me for being the shy, scrawny nerd, and all of a sudden, I'm a meathead? But see, I realize now that change is uncomfortable. You're supposed to stay the same so that it's easier for others to go about their day. So even if you don't intend to do this, changing your body, and therefore changing yourself, can be the biggest middle finger you can give to those around you. And it can also reveal their true thoughts about you. See, it was never that they didn't like me because I went from scrawny to meathead. They just never liked me, which is fine. You can't please everyone. I'm on my journey, and you're on yours. The last lesson I'll share is that as Asian men, it's assumed that us being a provider is easy, second nature. Perhaps it's because there's this perception that we're hardworking, go to college, pursue good careers, that it's a foregone conclusion that we make for good providers for our families. But it doesn't make it easy. That like for millions, billions of other men who also provide for their families, working is hard. Making a living is hard. I remember talking with a former student of mine who was back home from college, and he was telling me about his summer job. He told me matter-of-factly, making money is hard. And I could have been a jerk and said, well, duh. But I could tell that this realization was a genuine learning experience for him. And he's right. It's a realization that we as men all have as we take on the responsibility of being a husband, a dad, or just trying to provide for ourselves day to day. And what working out does is that it reinforces and reminds us that even if we don't want to do something, we're supposed to do it anyway. I'll share with you one of the most powerful life lessons I learned from my weightlifting journey that illustrates this point. In 2011, I was training for a weightlifting competition, and the morning of the competition, I got a stomach bug. At first, I thought it was just pre-competition jitters, so I thought I could just power through it. But it was a 2-hour drive down to the competition, and I remember having to get off multiple exits so that I could relieve myself. I remember pulling into a Jack in the Box, and after using the bathroom, I forced myself to take a few bites of a breakfast sandwich because, well, I couldn't expect to lift anything if I didn't eat anything. After I got back on the road, I hit a stretch of freeway that was just farmland, and I remember thinking to myself, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this to myself? Driving 2 hours to lift in a local competition in a town that I'd never been to, by myself with no coach or teammate on a rainy Saturday morning. Sure, I spent several months training for this, but what does it matter when you're sick, miserable, dehydrated, and likely not going to perform your best? I could have easily turned around, gone back home, and nobody who mattered would know or care. I wish I could say I had some epiphany about commitment or resilience that made me decide to keep going. I honestly don't even remember why I decided to keep going, but in a short while, I was at the competition. Making weight was a joke, of course, and as I warmed up, all I could really stomach was some Gatorade. In fact, right before my first lift, I had to relieve myself once more. And then I competed. I didn't perform my best, obviously, but I didn't bomb out either. In fact, you can see the competition on my channel. It's the one from 2011. And it was when I left the competition and started the 2-hour drive home that it hit me. This is why I trained. It wasn't so that I would perform my best when everything was going my way. It was about still performing when everything wasn't going my way. And bro, that's life. If we just did things when we feel like it, we'd still be children. And frankly, a lot of men stay children. They might be grown up on the outside, but not the inside. For men, we have to decide to grow up, to do what's necessary not when you want to, but because we have to. The last thing I'll say is, a lot of men complain about being invisible, Asian men in particular. If you do all this, if you learn to be disciplined, dependable, and principled, that's how you get noticed. That's how you become visible. So, if you want a goal to prove to yourself that you're ready for the gym, work towards being able to do 100 total push-ups in 3 sets. 100 total air squats in 3 sets, and 10 strict pull-ups in a row, all in one workout. I don't care how you achieve it. Ask ChatGPT to create a daily routine for you if you need to build up to that point, but don't overanalyze it. Just do it. And when you meet that goal, awesome. Good for you. You prove that you can do it. And I'll see you at the gym.